Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. So, we're diving straight into today's explainer, and I want to kick things off with a quick question. What happens when your perfectly designed, theoretically flawless code finally meets the messy, totally unpredictable reality of the real world? Well, today, we're going to find out. We are stepping right out of the design phase and jumping straight into the trenches. In our previous lesson on scalability considerations in deployments, we honestly did some incredible work. We mapped out how to handle massive user loads, optimize gas costs, and make sure our systems just don't buckle under pressure. But here's the harsh reality. A brilliantly scalable wallet is literally useless if it's practically giving away its funds in a digital heist. I mean, scaling a system with gaping security holes, that just means you're going to get robbed faster and way more efficiently. And yeah, we absolutely do not want that. All right, here is our itinerary for today's investigation. We'll start by looking at the vulnerable wallet context, then move into the reentrance drain, investigate the missing modifier, apply our fixes, and wrap the whole thing up by filing the debug report.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the vulnerable wallet context. Okay, think of today's explainer kind of like a true crime investigation, but, for smart contracts. We need to secure the perimeter and examine the scene of the crime right inside our local Hardhat test environment. So for this exercise, we're looking at an intentionally vulnerable smart wallet. We're not dealing with some massive complex DeFi protocol here. It's a very focused, repeatable local setup. And lurking inside this code are two distinct critical failure modes just begging to be exploited. We've got a withdrawal ordering bug and an access control regression. Basically, it's like we left the front door completely unlocked and the back window wide open.
Moving on to Section 2, the reentrancy drain.
All right, let's step into the shoes of the lead detective. We're checking that front door first, figuring out exactly how the vault was completely emptied by a reentrancy attack. Reentrancy. I know it sounds like some terrifying sci-fi concept, but the logic is actually pretty straightforward. Imagine you walk up to a bank teller, right? You ask to withdraw $100. They hand you the cash. But right before they turn around to write down that your balance went down, you tap the counter and say, actually, let me withdraw another 100. Because they haven't updated their ledger yet, they look at your old balance, say sure thing, and hand you another 100. You just keep looping this until the bank is entirely out of money. That, my friends, is reentrancy in a nutshell.
Now, what's really fascinating here is seeing exactly how this plays out in the actual code. On the intended flow, a user asks for a withdrawal, the contract sends the money, and then it reduces their balance. But look at the exploit side. An attacker uses a malicious smart contract. When our vulnerable wallet sends the funds, it triggers a fallback function in the attacker's contract. And that fallback function, it immediately turns around and calls the withdrawal command again, creating this malicious loop. Our wallet just keeps sending funds, totally blissfully unaware, all because it simply hasn't reached the line of code that updates the balance yet.
And so, what's the final result of that tiny, seemingly harmless ordering mistake? 0. Literally 0. When we run our Hardhat test suite, 0 is the exact final balance of our wallet. The drain was a complete success, and the user's funds are totally gone.
Let's look at Section 3, the missing modifier.
Time to head over to our second crime scene. Now, in this scenario, the funds weren't just drained. The entire ownership of the wallet was completely hijacked. And this bug isn't some sneaky complex loop like reentrancy. It's actually way simpler and, honestly, kind of 100 times more embarrassing for a developer. It's an access control regression. Our contract has a function called setOwner that changes who controls the wallet, but it completely lacks the proper authorization check to actually make sure only the current owner can call it.
In theory, our intended security is this heavily fortified titanium vault door. We spent so much time engineering it, but our actual reality, we completely forgot to install a lock on that door. I mean, it really doesn't matter how thick the steel is if literally any arbitrary signer on the blockchain can just walk right up, pull the handle, and declare themselves the new owner. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
All right, Section 4, applying the fixes.
Okay, enough looking at broken code. It is time to put on our engineering hard hats and actually patch these vulnerabilities. If you've taken any of the other advanced programming courses we offer here at Forge College, you already know that finding the bug is only half the battle, right? Now we architect the solution. Here's our 3-part remediation blueprint to build an absolutely impenetrable security system. Step 1, we're going to move the balance decrement to happen before the external call. Step 2, we're adding a Boolean guard, basically a simple lock, to prevent those reentrancy loops entirely. In Step 3, we are slapping an owner-only modifier onto our setOwner function so only authorized personnel can actually change the locks. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolutely most vital rules in Web3 security, the checks effects interactions pattern. Just look at the difference here. By simply moving the state update, the effect of lowering the balance, to happen before the interaction of sending the funds, we completely destroy the reentrancy loop. Even if the attacker's fallback function tries to reenter, the contract has already updated their balance to 0. The attack just hits a brick wall. It is a stunningly elegant fix for sure.
Finally, Section 5, filing the debug report.
So we've patched the code, but our job isn't quite done. The absolutely crucial point here is that we don't just guess that our code is safe, we have to prove it. Check out this matrix of our test outcomes. Before the fix, the reentrancy drain left our wallet balance sitting at a big fat 0. After the fix, the attack is completely prevented. Before the fix, some unauthorized user could just swoop in and change the owner. Post-fix, that call immediately reverts. This is definitive, mathematically proven evidence that these bugs have been totally squashed in our local environment.
Now, to properly wrap up a professional investigation, you have to compile a debug report. Your report needs a few essential artifacts: the failing test logs and exploit stack traces to actually prove the vulnerability existed in the first place, the exact code diffs showing your brilliant patches, and finally, the passing test summaries. Having this traceability proves to your team and to your users that your fixes are necessary, sufficient, and specifically targeted to the problem.
So we've gone from a vulnerable, wide-open vault to a tightly secured fortress, and you now have the exact blueprints to do this in your own projects. I challenge you to apply these engineering patterns, like checks effects, interactions, and proper access modifiers in your own code, right away. Please, don't let your massively scalable wallet become a massively scalable heist. Now, to dive deeper and master more Web3 development programs, be sure to head over to forge.college. But before you go, I want you to ask yourself this. If a single line of code placed slightly out of order can drain an entire protocol in milliseconds, what other silent vulnerabilities are hiding in the contracts you interact with every single day? Think about that. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.